Hey, good morning everybody and welcome to my first video. It's Taylor and Universal Orlando invited us, Orlando Informer, out to VelociCoaster for a media preview. It officially opens June 10th. And I wanted to actually do my first video about your questions about VelociCoaster. We've received a lot of questions about it, so I'm gonna do my best to answer as many as possible. So the first question is from Todd. He asked, how often does your butt come out of your seat? The answer is really frequently. So the one that stands out the most is actually this one right behind me, the top hat. I just rode in the front row a moment ago. And once I reached the top, until like halfway down the drop, my butt was out of the seat. Another interesting thing about VelociCoaster is the restraint. There's a lot of questions about the restraint system. So it comes over your shoulders, but it does not cover your shoulders. It only covers your lap. So it's just a lap bar that comes from over your shoulders, and it allows for a lot of airtime. Oh, there it goes again. So SHEILA asked, can you walk through the queue and not ride? So pretty much any Universal ride, you can. If you want to, you can just go through the queue and then not ride. The queue is really fun. It's a little bit on the shorter side, but each room is really interesting. And there are a lot of Easter eggs. My favorite is there's a miniature train, and this is the same train that they use to train the baby raptors on how to chase the ride vehicles, which is part of the story of VelociCoaster. So Melissa asked, how rough is it, or jerky? And she asked me to compare it to Rip Ride Rockit, which is kind of one of the more jerkier rides at Universal. So VelociCoaster is mostly smooth. I will say it's a lot more intense than Rip Ride Rockit, and it's the most intense ride here. So if you have any concerns about like jerkiness or how rough an attraction is, you should not ride VelociCoaster. And it's not because it's jerky, it's just because there's a lot of really intense roller coaster movement. Denise asked about the drop and said it makes her nervous. It is a really large drop. I will say in the front row, it was obviously very noticeable. I've also ridden in other rows, and the other rows aren't quite as noticeable for the drop. So like in the second row, for example, I didn't notice that I was at the top until I was at the top. And I mean, the drop just goes by so quickly. So if you're nervous about the drop, I don't know if I'd let it stop me from riding, but I probably wouldn't ride in the front row. I've been filming this intro to the video in the courtyard area. It's kind of next to Hogsmeade and overlooks the Islands of Adventure Lagoon almost. You actually enter Jurassic World VelociCoaster next to the watering hole. And then once you get to the courtyard, there are large lockers in the Discovery Center, which do cost money, but there's smaller lockers later in the queue, which is a kind of a difference from this ride and most Universal rides. And then there is multiple test seats. The easiest one to access is right out in front of the attraction. And they also have a test locker. So the smaller lockers are free while you ride, and you can test if your belongings will fit in here at this little test area, which is cool. So the test seat, you know, if you're nervous about fitting on the ride, this is where you would try. I've got to say, you know, it doesn't seem to be super restrictive compared to some other rides here. So entering the queue, this is the first outdoor portion. It's got really cool lighting, especially at night. There's really large fans that keep you pretty cool. And then I'm in the standby line portion, but there's also, at one day, you know, maybe they'll offer Express. They don't currently, and they have an Express line ready if they ever do offer Express. And then also there's a single rider line. Universal isn't currently offering single rider lines, but one day.
I'm here to help keep you and your belongings safe during your Raptor run today.
So it's a little darker in here, but Mitch asked how immersive is the queue, and the answer is very immersive. So right behind me is the second real room you enter in the queue, and you can see the roller coaster zoom by and get chased by raptors. YASH asked me to compare it to HAGRID. So they both tell a story. I will say HAGRID's is a lot more family friendly. Not that your family can't ride this, but this one is a lot more intense. It's meant to be a more intense roller coaster, and it has a lot less slower moments, whereas HAGRID stops a lot and kind of tells a story and, you know, has some show scenes. There it goes again. So another cool thing about VelociCoaster is Dr. Wu Owen and Claire all reprise their roles, especially just for the roller coaster. So you see Dr. Wu talking to you down here, and then when you get closer to the ride, Claire and Owen talk to you as well. So there is a lot of Easter eggs. I already mentioned the roller coaster they used to train the raptors, but keep an eye out for this cabinet in the queue because there's a lot of extra Easter eggs in here. Deidre asked if there's any animatronics on the ride. Not on the ride, but there is some really lifelike ones. Probably this could be the best animatronic Universal has here in the queue. So you can see their eyes darting, you can see them snarling, there's even a dirt smell, and you can feel them breathing as well. It is super, super lifelike here in the queue. So VelociCoaster probably has the most interesting locker system as well. So they're free while you ride, these small lockers, and you use your park ticket as always to get a locker. But you put the stuff in on one side, and then when you unload on the ride, you exit on the other side and empty it. So I'll show you. So again, the locker system is numbered, and you can also see the shape of the dinosaur. And then this is the opposite side of the lockers I just showed you. It is a really cool system. So like I mentioned, currently Universal isn't offering single riders, but one day when they do, they have dedicated lockers for single riders here as well. So I also love these attraction posters in the locker area. You can see there's a reference to Pteranodon Fires, River Adventure.
Let's prepare for your ultimate.
And you can see the Indominus Rex attraction is coming soon. Camp Cretaceous as well.
My name is Claire Deering, Park Operations Manager. Guests like you have challenged us to push the limits of our animal encounters.
Guys, watch it!
Mr. Green, can you talk a little bit about the great strides you've made in raptor training?
So another really cool detail that I haven't seen anyone talk about yet is this video actually changes to nighttime at night. So it's supposed to be a live feed, so they made it realistic to the time of day. There is a ride photo as well. Soon they'll have kiosks where you can just use your My Universal Photos pass and get it from the kiosk, but they also have it here as well at the stand. So that is Jurassic World VelociCoaster. Once you get up there, they talk to you. You know, Owen says this is a dumb idea, and Claire assures you it'll be fine. And then you board the ride, and then when you're actually on the ride at the end, you can hear Claire over the radio say there's a problem at River Adventure, and she has to get over there. And then that's the ride. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions about VelociCoaster, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.